So we're going to be starting to try to cough our head off, explain the harness fetching rules for the SMA, which are based on the Lynx Argent Accords to the wonderful new people here that are here today. So Margaret is going to give the example on where you start people. You might want to back a little bit. You can start people with percussive strikes basically anywhere. Now, none of those are any good because the edge of this sword, if it was sharp, would do exactly what it did to the actual armor. Nothing. He wouldn't know anything more than he got hit with the same sword. It's the same mass, it's the same force. It doesn't care. Now, he doesn't have any armor on the inside of his arms, on the inside of his legs, on the palms of his hands, but he does have mail up here on his throat. So, if I can get the thrust with purchase and with structure, meaning I've got good footwork, my feet are together, and I've got the point set and give a good solid shove to where I'm driving that point through those mail links into where there's no armor underneath it, then that is a besting. That is a defeat. Now, let's look underneath. Oh, look, I'm driving into his gorget in the metal of his coat of plates. So I need to get higher and get up here where his armor actually stops. But if I can just get a poke inside where he doesn't have armor, either mail or plate, on the armpit, that is a besting. He is defeated. Conversely, if I get a percussive blow, where there's a sword edge against just meat and fabric, that's what that does to his body. It cuts a big old gash in it, and he is now bested. Now, we can't do this here, but in normal harness fetching, we do allow grappling. It is usually within the agreement of the two combatants. Sometimes in the tournament, they'll expressly say, we're just going to the set because everybody's an experienced grappler. But like today, we're on concrete. You don't want to throw people even in armor on the concrete because it tears up the floor. We don't want that. But if you are not grappling, we'll get in here. You might get really close and pushing and shoving and hitting people with their elbow and stuff like that to get them out of the way so that you're engaging in body-to-body contact but not grappling. Or we might be getting in here and having it over here. He goes, okay, I'm starting to go yell set because he thinks he's going to fall and I don't want my buddy to fall. So as soon as he says set, we try to keep them from falling and help make sure that they don't fall down. I'm not going to get them to sort of throw because you are on concrete. But otherwise, on a throw, you actually throw them to the ground, and you have to maintain control after the throw. If you lose control and you're both rolling on the floor, as people saw at TOS a couple of times back, you may not be automatically the victor because you got the throw, especially if the guy pulls you down with him and ends up stabbing you multiple times as we go to the floor. Yes?
So, to clarify, there's basically, when it comes to grappling, there's three modes. There's
three modes.
No grappling at all, grappling to a set where you stop just before throw,
yes, and
then fully throwing someone.
That is the rules we operate under. We got a couple of different weapons we mainly play with. We got the arming sword, your standard single-handed sword. We do have impact weapons, usually not a two-handed pull. This is the war hammer. It's got the same thrusting tip that we add onto all the swords, which is the bottom of the walk. It's a walking stick tip. It's a little more robust than the tips that you'll find for a lot of rapier tips. But this is, even though it's a polyethylene hammer, it's still a hammer. The percussive shot is still a percussive shot. Now that, if you choose to say that you are bested by the percussive shot of the war hammer, then yeah, if you want to call that spike as I'm done, especially if it gets in here into the neck and I start pulling around, then he doesn't have that up here. So if I can get the hook up in here, and I start pulling with that hook, there's some things you can do with that.
I've got it.
Or if you get bumped with the hammer, you can seriously start generating some force, especially with the poleaxe. With the poleaxe, first contact is usually the winner. So if it comes down two-handed and you get a hit to the head, that's pretty much it. So the poleaxes are actually made to defeat the plate armor or cave it in so you can't keep fighting.
At the very minimum, I feel like if you got hit with that, even if it didn't injure you, your bell would be wrong and you'd be on the ground. So.
Well, where a lot of the fights end up is at close grips with the dagger. So you're fighting with two swords, you're getting the swords all tied up, your sword's too big, it's in the way, you then go to the dagger and you start trying to find a spot. You try to work that in, and I've got a tip on this dagger. It does have a rolled tip. I just don't have a rubber tip on it because it's very small, and it's a flexi dagger. But if I can get in here with the dagger and then twist that in, again, with purchase, so I've got a good solid placement of the dagger, it's not rolling around, and I've got good structure, and I get that push. If he doesn't feel it, it's up to the referee to say, stop, dagger to the neck, because half the time it's you feel nothing and then something hurts. And sometimes it goes nothing, nothing, nothing. Oh crap, that was a rib. Especially if it's up in here, if I get up under a plate. The other places inside the palms of the hand you get hit. I go in the back of his dagger. I can dagger in the back of his gauntlet, get down into his hand. So this can go from ha ha happy fun to oh something's broke very quickly if you're not paying attention to yourself and your opponent. This is too small for me to thrust at people's face with today, so I'm not going to be using that way. I do have another option that we do sometimes use some of the polyethylene weapons. This is a polyethylene flexi dagger. I'm still getting plenty of poke on it. You can still definitely feel the dagger, but it flexes and it's a much bigger tip. A much bigger tip. So the safety daggers we use a lot. The other weapon that is very, very fun to play with is the longsword. These are usually fought longsword on longsword. They're scored the same way as the arming sword is or any of the other edged weapons. But we're basically, you start out here, you got a sword. We start out here, you'll come to end cross, and then almost always people immediately, almost I hit the face with a sword. Go to half sword, and you start kind of using it like a bayonet. So you're trying to get that point around and then get the point in someplace if they don't have armor. This one I don't have a tip for, so we're not going to play with this today. But it ends up being a very interesting fight. You start out at long point like this, and then you end up fighting until you get in, and you get in tighter. And if you work and get control of the sword first and get that point in line, usually is going to be the one you win. So you're still trying to either percuss a shot where they don't have armor, find a spot where they're not covered, that they've left open in the fight, or find a place on the mail and get purchase instruction. So with the thrusting, wherever my sheath went, with the daggers, the sewing machine stab isn't really good. And you'll see people, and they'll come in, and I'm bad about doing this sometimes. None of those had structure. You might even get a couple of inches or an inch of thrust through one of those gaps. It's not going to be enough to stop. It is supposed to be a thrust that stops someone. So when we grip and I get in here, it's in and we're pushing until I'm trying to drive that enough to where I pushed him. You're talking, 4 or 5 inches of blade in the armpit. That is a fight tender to get a 5-inch piece of ice pick jammed into your lung under your armpit. So that's the way we usually go with that. We also will fight with bucklers. Generally, we don't strike with the buckler. Sometimes people agree upon that, and that's fine. A lot of it comes down to within that rule structure, whatever the opponent agrees upon with the other opponent, as long as it's relatively safe, we generally have people doing that. You want to make sure you have solid steel elbows, solid VAMs, shoulders. A mail shirt is highly recommended. You want to have groin protection, full gauntlets, full legs with greaves, a closed face helmet that none of the holes will allow the point of any of the weapons through. That's the big thing. You also want them to be sturdy enough that they'll take the percussive hit of any of the metal weapons, especially the pole axes. The single-handed sword, your lighter gauge helmets will probably be fine. The 6-foot-long polymer pole axe is going to start to crunch some of those lighter gauge round steel helmets. Has anybody got any questions? Or you do a couple of short, slow passes? Anyone? Anyone? Oh, Andrew's finally here. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to throw my gauntlets and my helmet on. I'll get you a buckler and we'll get the swords. Good idea? Okay. I can't get my arms trying to put me on now. Oh, I can't breathe. I'm going to go kind of slow, and then as people get into it, I'll step out and I'll officiate and work it again. If I call hold, you can stop and move where you're at and don't move.
Hold or fold?
Stop or
held?
If you hear me yelling something really loud, stop.
Got it, thank you.
If you hear a bunch of people go, oh, holy fuck, he's dying, he's bleeding everywhere, stop. Yeah, if I hear anyone yelling, I'll turn it on. Wop, wop. Wop, wop. Wop, wop. Wop, wop. Captain Lydia.
Yeah. And what is going to be called this day?
Already black line today.
Well, you can go first.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys know my mark, see that? See, that's fine.
That's what I
You
got.
okay?
No, it's okay. Just 16.
You can stand in front of me. Oh, you can put my hand on my hand? What's that?
I'm gonna hold your warhammer,
Cool.
just in case you guys accidentally get close to the
Yeah,
table.
if you start doing courses out, let us know. Let's do it really quick.
Yep, you're good. I'm gonna put it
That a
up.
little bit. Okay, right on. Is that meat? That meat? Yes, that's meat. You have no armor there, so you are bastard.
Yeah, I thought you said me.
We'll do another pass. I was trying to get the tip up in your neck, and I wasn't sure what I caught.
Tip out, Morgan. Tip out. You ready?
Yeah,
You're good. You gotta break that
Don't
one
bring my
down.
phone.
That was the point. That's the point. Under the helmet. Good.
Oh my God, I'm taking a deep breath. Do one more. And then I'll have my mouth put in the too. Ready? That's the way it always is. You got all this armor on, where you get hit, but then you want nothing on. Yeah. One more, that was pretty good. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I almost got a poke in there on my friend trying to call it the nose slide. Not wearing the sword coat is actually kind of an advantage. The sword coats will grab the tip sometimes.
Yeah, the style points.
Yeah. So it's kind of, that can also play to your advantage.
Winning doesn't mean you can be so cool.
Yeah.
And then,
That was the first harness fetching test in Florida. I can get my helmet off. It's caught on something.
A little bit.
So, that was our quick introduction to harness fetching as we do it in the SMA based on the Lynx Argent Accords. I'm going to run out of time here, but I'll do a few shorts later on. But that was me and John over there. So we had a good time. I have had such a cold, I probably sound absolutely terrible. So like and subscribe, and be sure to check that out at revivalmilitary.us.